Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Trade Talks webinar. I'm Steph Lazo, Technical Analyst of Video Securities, and I will be the speaker for today's Outlook series. Just a few reminders before we start. Attendees are muted and in listen-only mode. We will also have a live Q&A session after this presentation, and you may submit your questions anytime using the Q&A panel found on your Zoom screen options. Please note that this event will be recorded and uploaded on the Events and Webinars page on the BDO Securities website. So without making this any longer, let's run through the things that we will be talking about today. First, we will be running through the PSEI for us to have an idea of how our overall market looks like. Second, we would also be discussing the sectors or subsectors in the Philippine Stock Exchange so that we will have an idea which sectors are performing strongly in terms of price action, which ones are posting reversals or signs of reversal, and which ones are performing weak. So aside from that, we will also dive deeper into stock specifics. We will be tapping on the top 5 traded stocks for the month of January, as well as our research team's topics. Okay, so aside from that, aside from our research team's topics, we will also be charting or analyzing your stock picks. So if you have any stock or question in mind, you can actually send in your stock request through the Q&A panel on your Zoom screen options as early as now, and later on we'll discuss them. Okay, before we move on, let's just have a short briefer on the technique or the type of analysis that we will be using today. Okay, so today we will be focusing on technical analysis, which involves the study of price action that is usually driven by sentiment or market sentiment. It also involves identifying of trends, spotting patterns, monitoring the indicators that are formed throughout market cycles. So technical analysis is used to find trading opportunities, evaluating your existing positions or the ones that are currently in your portfolio. And we use also technical analysis in timing your entries and exits better. So timing your entry and exits are essential in a trading strategy. So if you'd want to know more about technical analysis and trading strategies, you may check out our tutorial webinars on our website. So you can simply go through the URL that you see on your screens, and under the Trade Talks webinars tutorial series, you'll find there 2 tutorial videos about technical analysis. So in those videos, we will discuss how you can find patterns, how you identify trends, as well as the interpretation of indicators. But for today, since this is an Outlook series, we will be focusing on the current situation of the market, as well as its potential direction in the coming days or weeks. Okay, starting with the overall stock market barometer, the PSEI. These are on the right, the observations that we've noticed in the past weeks. Okay, so far as you can see on the right, there are a lot of bullish things that bullish signs that we have noted, and let's go through this one by one. Okay, so from the low of October 2023, we saw the PSEI rise to as high as 6,700. I think as of closing today, we are already past the 6,800 level. And that is because the PSEI was able to break out of a W pattern, or what we call a double bottom formation. So the double bottom formation, the one that you see in blue line here, is a bullish reversal pattern. So what does a bullish reversal pattern mean? This means that if the stock or a particular security form this pattern, it may indicate that it may reverse its previous downtrend to now the current uptrend. So what we can see here is that the PSEI was able to break above the resistance of that W pattern. So the resistance of the W pattern can be identified by connecting the PSEI's high back in July 2023, as well as the high of the PSEI this January. So being connecting those two high points, we can now draw the resistance of the W pattern. And as we can clearly see, as of yesterday and as of today, PSEI had been trading well above that resistance. So that is one bullish sign. Apart from the W pattern or the double bottom pattern, we also noticed that the PSEI had been trading within an uptrend channel. So an uptrend channel means the security had been bouncing off its support levels and revisiting a higher level, similar to what you see in the PSEI. So as you look at this black solid line, we can see here that from the low of October, the PSEI managed to rally close to the resistance that we've drawn here. And when it corrected closer to 6150 area, we saw the PSEI rebound once again and revisit the higher levels of the uptrend channel. So an uptrend channel is characterized by, or can be drawn if you connect the lows of the security or the price as well as the highs. So in an uptrend, you should be able to see a higher low each time the price corrects, and you should be able to see the PSEI or the security to be creating higher highs as time goes by. Okay, so aside from the W pattern and the uptrend channel, we've also noticed in terms of the PSEI's moving averages, it exhibited a golden cross. So a golden cross means that the shorter term moving average crosses above the longer term moving average. So in this case, we are using the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. And right now, the red line that you see here is the 50-day moving average. And last week, we saw it cross over or cross above the 200-day moving average. So a golden cross indicates a potential continuation of an uptrend rally or a bigger bullish rally that could be emerging. So aside from the patterns that we see and aside from the uptrend that we've observed, so far the indicators that we are monitoring have been supportive of the PSEI's further rally. Okay, starting with the PSEI's MACD, it is also showing bullish signs given that it is above the zero baseline. So you can see this is the zero baseline and the MACD is above it. And another thing to note about the MACD is that this above the signal line, currently above the signal line, and the further crossover of the MACD line above the signal line may continue to indicate that the PSEI may continue to trade above or within the said uptrend channel that we previously monitored. Okay, aside from the MACD, we also have another momentum indicator, which is the relative strength index. So if you have been following the technically speaking report that we are publishing weekly, we mentioned that in the past weeks, the PSEI had already been showing bearish divergence with the RSI, meaning as the PSEI creates a new high, the RSI had been creating lower highs. And we mentioned in that report that for the PSEI to continue rallying higher, we need to see the RSI break the potential bearish divergence. And so far, as of yesterday, the PSEI was able to break that bearish divergence trend. Therefore, we may continue to expect an uptrend for our index. And finally, the last bullish indicator that we've been monitoring is the parabolic SAR. So as you can see, how you interpret this indicator is that if you see the dots here under the candle, that means that the stock is trading within an uptrend. So far in the past 2-3 weeks, the parabolic SAR indicator has been there and it had been supportive of the PSEI's recent rally. Okay, so there we have gone through the list of bullish indicators, but there's one thing to note in our market. So even though our market is rising, it managed to rebound from 5,900 levels to as high as 6,800. We noticed that the volume remains low. So in comparing it to the 20-day average or average daily volume of our market that is amounting to 6.1 billion a day, our current volume in for this week or the past 2 weeks had been declining and is just totaling around 5 billion per day. So what we want to see is that for a bullish view to be confirmed, all of these indicators, including volume, should be supportive of that. So that means that if the PSEI would continue to move higher, we also need to see the volume rise within this level, within the average of 6.1 billion or higher. Okay, so moving on to the sectors of the in the PSE, to make it easier, I have arranged it in a sense that from strong technical setup to the weakest one. So let's start off with the financial sectors that had been in an uptrend since 2020. And so far, similar to the PSEI, it is trading within an uptrend channel. So as you can see, even though that the financial sector dropped back in the latter part of 2023, it strongly managed to rebound to where it is right now, and it is trading close to its previous high. So if the financial sector index continues to trade within this said range or pattern, then it may be able to surpass the recent high it made back in late July. Okay, so far, the PSE or the Philippine, sorry, it's the financial sector had been continued to maintain its superiority in terms of price action. So the next two, we have the holding companies or the conglomerates and the property sector. So I've ranked these two sectors after the financial sector because currently both of them are trading near their respective resistance levels. So starting off with the holding sector, as you can see, we've drawn a downtrend line from the peak of 2018. And right now, the conglomerate sector is trading close to that resistance. And if it manages to trade above this, or it breaks out above this resistance level, then we may see a further opening up of an uptrend for this sector or for its member companies. Aside from that, the same goes with property sector. Actually, for property sector, it had already slightly broken out of the downtrend. But again, we are yet to see volume to build up. But similar to the conglomerate sector, we may also expect a higher rally for the property sector if it maintains to trade above this downtrend. Next up, we have the services sector and the industrial sector. If you'd notice, they almost look the same. So for services sector and industrials, they are still below the downtrend line that was drawn from, here's this, I think 2015. Same goes with the industrial sector. And both of them have formed a falling wedge pattern. So a falling wedge pattern looks like this. So industrial sector is also forming the same pattern. And similar to the W pattern that I've mentioned, it is also considered a bullish reversal pattern. So if the stock or a security or this indices break out of that reversal pattern, then we may see the price action reverse towards a more positive side. Okay, so for now, you can see that the services sector already broke out of the falling wedge pattern. So we are seeing right now that it is rallying towards the upside. So we may expect that the services sector may rally towards its next resistance, or it may revisit this particular line that we've drawn here. So for industrial sector, it has not broken out yet, but if it does, we can also expect the same thing similar to the services sector. Then the resistance may be revisited as well. And finally, we have here the mining sector. Both in the long-term and short-term view, the mining sector had been trading downwards. So if you are currently invested in mining sector, maybe you want to reassess your holdings and might want to check out other sectors that are performing well. Or if you want to get into the mining sector, you might want to wait for reversal signs to appear first before getting into the stock. Okay? So we will be now moving on to stock analysis. And now that we know how the overall market and the general sectors in the PSE may move, let's now go to the specifics. So particularly, we will discuss or analyze the top 5 traded stocks in January and as well as our research team's stock picks. Okay, so as we go through each chart, we will be finding out if the stock will break our hearts or if these stocks is something that we should love this month. Okay, since February is the month of love or known as the month of love, we will make it more interesting for us to have a light discussion about technical analysis in the market. Okay, but first, before we proceed one by one, just a short disclaimer. Please note that our analysis today is solely based on technical analysis or just the price action. Okay, so there may be instances that my assessment for each stock may or may not match the ratings given by our research team. So in case na merong mismatching view with our research team's ratings, it should not be construed as a contradiction to our research team's view. So that is because we are primarily focusing on the price movements alone, which may be affected by a lot of factors. So the only goal of our session today is to just provide timing guidance to those who are here watching. Okay? So for today, we will have 2 categories. So if the stock exhibits a good technical setup, then its ticker will be displayed under the hearts list. Otherwise, if the stock is flashing red flags in terms of price action, then it will be placed under the broken hearts list. Okay, so let's go through the first one, which is BDO. Anyway, another disclaimer, just to avoid conflicts of interest, I won't be rating BDO or categorizing BDO between these two lists. I'll just give a commentary on how the BDO stock price had been moving. Okay, so similar to the financial sector, BDO looks like that index so much, given that this is the top weighted stock in that particular sector index. So as we can see, when BDO reached a high of 151.4 back in July, it started correcting and it broke down of its long-term moving average. But nonetheless, even though if it broke down the long-term moving average, it managed to form a falling wedge pattern, which I've mentioned earlier is a bullish reversal pattern. So given that we saw early this year that BDO rebounded and broke out of the bullish reversal pattern, and right now we are seeing a sharp rally in stock price. So right now, given the sharp rally, BDO's RSI or momentum indicator is now close to overbought levels. So what we can do here, as we all know, when the stock reaches resistance level, it may be a good time or you may want to consider lightening your position. And a good opportunity to accumulate or re-enter in the stock is that if its RSI normalizes from overbought levels to somewhere closer to around 50. So right now, BDO is trading within an uptrend, both in long-term view and short-term view. And right now, it is advised for investors to hold if you currently own it, and lighten if it reaches towards the nearest resistance level, and set your trailing stops if it breaks below its current uptrend line. Okay? So moving on to the next top traded stock for the month of January, we have Ayala Land Inc. or ALI. Okay, so back in December 2023, we saw Ayala Land break out of its long-term downtrend channel. It rallied as high as 35 pesos, but recently it experienced a correction. So right now, this correction allowed us to draw a potential flag pattern. So a flag is characterized by an uptrend followed by a short-term downtrend. That's why it's drawn like that. And for us to derive or to estimate a target price for Ayala Land, we can simply measure the height of the pole and connect it to the potential breakout point of the flag. Okay, so given that, given this particular setup, we can estimate that Ayala Land's target price could reach 42 pesos if it breaks out of this flag pattern. Looking at the MACD and RSI, both are looking supportive of that view. But if I'm going to enter Ayala Land at somewhere around this breakout point, I would be placing my stop level below this area or below 31 pesos. So given Ayala Land's technical setup, I'll be putting it under the stocks to lump. Okay, so next one. We have JFC or Jollibee. So for the longest time since mid-2021, Jollibee had been trading within a sideways range. Okay, but around 2 weeks ago or last week, it attempted to break out of this sideways range, but right now it had corrected closer to its previous resistance, now turned support. Okay, and similar to the PSEI, Jollibee also exhibited a golden cross. As you can see, the 50-day moving average had crossed above its 200-day moving average. So we could expect Jollibee to be rallying towards higher levels. So how you can estimate a target price for a stock that had previously traded in a sideways? You can simply measure the height of the box where it had traded and simply add it to the breakout point. So in this case, if we are to buy Jollibee, we can estimate a target price of closer to 315 pesos. Okay, but let's note first that the MACD of Jollibee had crossed below its signal line. So this means that Jollibee may take some time to consolidate here, closer to where it is right now. It may find its new support first before it could rally towards higher levels. So this is something that we should watch out for in the coming days if it would actually play out. Okay, so given the potential and the current technical setup of Jollibee, you will also be adding it under stocks to lump. Okay, next one. We have here JG Summit. Okay, so JG Summit had been trading within a downtrend, both in a long-term view and a short-term view. And right now, we are seeing here that in its current downtrend channel or in its shorter term range, we can see that it is trading closer to its support level. And as you can see, at its current price of 40.75, we can estimate a potential upside of 22% if it rallies or it revisits the resistance of this downtrend channel. Okay, so if I am a short-term trader and I want to take advantage of potential short-term fluctuations on JG Summit, then I would place my stop level at around 37.10. As you can see, the MACD had also just crossed above its signal line and crossing above zero. So that may be a bullish sign and may indicate that JGS could actually revisit the resistance level. We could also see the momentum indicator is above 50, and that is also a good sign for the stock, even though if it is currently trading within a downtrend. So given the potential upside in the indicators of JGS, we are also placing it under stocks to love. Okay, the next one is a top traded stock for the month of January. And this stock is also part of our research team stock picks for the property sector. And as you can see recently, RLC managed to form a rounding bottom. And right now, it's correcting within a downtrend. So this allows us to draw a rounding bottom for our cup and handle formation. Okay, so similar to the W pattern or the double bottom formation is similar to the falling wedge pattern, a cup and handle pattern is also considered a bullish reversal pattern. So what we need to watch out for is for RLC to break out of this small downtrend range that we're seeing here towards the tail end of the chart. And if the breakout does happen, then we may expect RLC to revisit its higher level. So the next resistance that I'm seeing for RLC is somewhere close to around 20 pesos or closer to this area. And for more information, our research team's target price based on fundamental analysis for RLC is somewhere close to 26 pesos or somewhere around this area. So if we see RLC break out of this short-term pattern, then we may see higher resistance level to be revisited first. But if bullish sentiment over the stock or over the property sector prevails for the rest of the year, then we may see our research team's target price of 26 pesos be reached as well. Okay, so given that, we are also adding RLC under stocks to love. Next one, we have another property stock. It's SM Prime, and it's part of our research team's top picks for the property sector. So basically, SM Prime had been trading sideways with slightly skewing towards the downside. But nonetheless, it seems that its support of 27.65 seems solid, given that when it corrected towards that level back in late 2023, it managed to rally up to 34.45, and we were also able to identify an uptrend channel. So we can see that SMPH was able to create a higher high here, another one here, and right now it seems that it is consolidating near the support of the uptrend channel, and there may be a potential for a continuation moving forward, provided that SM Prime does not go below this particular channel. Okay, so from current levels, we can estimate a target price of 38 pesos. I think that's around 9% upside from the current price. So if you want to take advantage of that, this may be a good opportunity to accumulate given that it's trading near the support level. If I'm going to enter SM Prime, then I would place my stop level below this uptrend channel, closer to 32 pesos. Okay. So for the short term, our target for SM Prime is 38. But if it manages to break out of this resistance as well as the 40.05 resistance, then it may be able to reach our research team's fundamental base target price of 42 pesos. Okay, so for SM Prime, you are also putting it under the stocks to love list. Moving on to the next one, we have here our top picks for the conglomerate sector. We have here SM Investments Corporation. So since 2021, we see that SM had been trading within a downtrend. Although it managed to create a higher low here back last year, we are seeing that it managed to, it attempted to break out of the resistance, long-term resistance. However, we've noticed that the RSI As the price created a higher high, its RSI created a lower high. So this means that it is posing a bearish divergence, meaning that even though the stock is currently rallying towards the upside, there may be signs that the current or the short-term uptrend could be reversed. So given that, we also wanted to assess if there's a trade idea that we can see for SM. So at current price, we are able to see a potential upside of nearly 10%. But if I'm going to place my stop level somewhere close to 861, which is the support for early January, it would give me a risk reward ratio of nearly 1:1. So even though SM broke out of a downtrend channel, but if it will yield me a 1:1 reward to risk ratio, I would rather select stocks with better risk reward ratio. So given the technical setup of SM Investments Corporation, I would be classifying it under this category. So nonetheless, even though if the technical setup of SM Prime is not that attractive yet, please note that our research team's target price for the stock is at 1,130. So as you can see, 1,130 is somewhere close to its 2021 high. So what we need to see for SM to reach that level is for it to overcome several resistance. So that is for it to trade above where it is right now. Next is for it to break out from the 1,027 resistance, which is its resistance back in late 2020. Okay, so this is something that we should still monitor. Okay, next one. We have another conglomerate, and that is GT Capital. As you can see, GT Capital had been, if I'm not mistaken, is the top gainer for the PSEI last year. And it seems that it would continue its market leadership in terms of price action, given that it managed to break out of its long-term downtrend. So from its peak in 2016, we can see that it was able to overcome or surpass that resistance. And also recently, we also see it break out of its 2021 resistance as well. So the next resistance or the target price that we are looking at for GT Capital is for it to reach the 880 level. So this is somewhere near our research team's target as well. I think it's just quite lower than the resistance that's drawn here. But nonetheless, we are expecting GT Cap to reach higher levels if it continues to trade within its uptrend channel. So right now, it is currently at overbought state in terms of RSI. So there may be a short-term correction. So we want GT Cap to form a healthy base first before it could continue to rally towards higher levels. So with that, given GT Capital's technical setup, you will also be placing it under stocks to like. Okay, next one, we have Bloom. Okay, so Bloom is one of our topics for the tourism sector. And right now, it is currently trading within the resistance or within a downtrend channel or slightly sideways skewed towards the downside. And right now, it's currently trading at 11.38, and that is close to the resistance level of the downtrend or sideways range that we have identified. So currently, it is close to overbought levels, and upside from current price is somehow limited already, unless we see Bloom to break out of this downtrend range already. But so far, given the overbought situation that's happening in the RSI, we may continue to see Bloomberry to just stay within the range in the meantime. Okay, so I'd only be interested in getting into Bloomberry if I see it trading above this downtrend channel. Okay, so for now, we'll keep it in our monitoring list, but so far in terms of price action, it is under the heartbroken sisters. Okay, so next one we have Cebu Pacific, and both in the long-term scale and short-term scale, Cebu Air had been trading towards the downside. And from its current price right now, I'm also seeing a limited upside, and similar to SM, their potential risk reward ratio for a trade idea in SEB is also yields 1:1 risk reward ratio. So ideally, if you're looking for a trade idea, you want something or you want a risk to reward ratio that's 3:1. So you want to have 3 times more potential gain than risking more than what you may potentially earn. Okay, so although we are not scrapping the fact that SEB may potentially revisit this resistance level, but so far indicators are not that supportive of further rally beyond this particular resistance level. Okay, so SEB would be added together with SM and Bloom. Okay, for the next one, we have here a REIT. Okay, if you have been following our technically speaking commentaries, you may have seen a REIT twice in the past 6 months. But so far, our trade ideas on a REIT had been unsuccessful. It had always resulted to a failed setup due to the unexpected crosses that were executed under current market value of the stock. But anyway, as you can see, the stock had been trading within a downtrend since it peaked around 52 or somewhere back in 2022. And in the short term, it is also trading within a downtrend. But actually, personally, I wouldn't buy REITs for trading purposes. If I'd buy REITs, I'd be accumulating it for the dividends. So if you're a dividend investor, you shouldn't be worried as much about the price action of the stock, like a REIT or M-REIT. But actually, it is a positive thing for REITs that you accumulate it at lower levels so that you'll have a higher dividend yield. Okay, but given the technical setup of a REIT, of course, this session is about price action only. So it will be categorized under the heartbroken space. Okay, we have a few more stocks, I think. We have here MREIT. I think this is the last stock that we have on our list to analyze. So similar to a REIT, it is also in a downtrend since REITs were affected by high interest rates. So right now, we see MREIT recover from the lows of 11 pesos. Right now, it's at 13.86. So it had formed a rounding bottom formation, and it had corrected previously, which could be the handle of a potential cup and handle formation. So earlier, I've mentioned that the cup and handle formation is a bullish reversal pattern. So if MREIT manages to break out of its short-term downtrend line as well as the cup and handle formation, then we may potentially see MREIT to revisit it higher levels. So measuring the height of the cup, we can estimate a target price of 16.74 for MREIT. So the 16.74 level is also the support of MREIT back in May 2020. Okay, so I've mentioned earlier that the ideal reward to risk ratio is 3:1. But sometimes if there are exemptions also. So if you have a strong conviction on the stock and the risk reward ratio is less than 3:2, you may also try getting into that stock, but you have to manage your sizing for that particular position. So for example, if I like MREIT, if I'd like to get into this particular stock and the risk to reward ratio is just 2, then I will adjust my buying transactions. Like let's say from buying 100,000 shares, I'll just minimize it to around say 50,000 shares. So the sizing really depends on you. But if a stock or a trade idea's risk reward ratio is lower, then you should adjust your size accordingly. Okay? So that's it. I think we have finished all the stocks that we have to analyze for today. So if you are interested in knowing more about technically speaking or our trade ideas, so we publish the report or commentary technically speaking every week. So it is published every Monday before the market opens. And these are the things that you'll see from that particular commentary. So first, on the first page, you'll be able to see there our outlook for the PSEI. So you'll be able to see there the indicators that we are monitoring, similar to the things that I've showed you earlier. You will be able to see here the trend that we have observed for the PSEI as well as its resistance and support levels. So under this chart, you'll be able to see our commentary there and our view on how the direction of the PSEI could move. Okay, and aside from the PSEI view, we also feature from time to time trade ideas. Okay, so if you're a beginner and you're not that familiar with technical analysis yet, you may want to check out our technically speaking trade ideas because we generate the charts for you, we draw the patterns for you, we filter out the 280 plus stocks in the PSE to find a potential trade idea. So so far the trade ideas that we feature are easy to follow given that the entry price or the buy price is already indicated clearly, as well as the target price if the stock rallies in our favor. And also we also have our risk management mechanism here, which is the stop level. So if you are new to the market or if you don't want to screen the whole PSE universe, you may want to check out our technically speaking trade ideas. Okay, so it should be easy for you to follow what's indicated in our trade idea because below this chart, you will also see a commentary on how you should strategize or how you should execute this trade idea. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. I hope that we already have questions from our Q&A box. Let's see. Okay, we already have 3 questions and all of them are about stock requests. So hold on, let me just share my chart. Okay, so first question or first stock request, can you chart Globe Telecom? Okay, as you can see here, I've already have pre-drawn some annotations here. But so far, since Globe Telecom peaked at around, sorry, I'm not seeing the highs and lows. Anyway, close to 2,500, um, it had corrected towards a low of 1,698. Actually, when the stock reached this level, I've heard that a lot of investors just executed their buy transactions because they wanted to take advantage of the cheap valuations of Globe Telecom. But anyway, as we can see, the 1,698.57 support level seems to be strong because for the longest time when the stock traded around this level from April 2023 to June of 2023, it didn't break that support level. Also, late last year current up to today, actually, we didn't see a runaway rally for Globe yet, but it is a good thing that it is not breaking this long-term support. So right now, we are seeing a contraction of trading band for um, Globe Telecom. So in when things or when a situation happens like this, it's really a 50-50 thing. It could go up or it could go down as the range contracts. But I'm looking at the indicators of Globe. Let's just zoom in a bit. We can see here that even though Globe is not going anywhere higher than 1,840, we can see that its RSI had been making higher lows. So this could be a bullish reversal signal for the stock. So the bullish reversal signal could only be confirmed if Globe breaks out of this long-term downtrend. So currently, its previous high is somewhere around 1,800. Um, a spark for a potential rally for Globe may only arise if it surpasses the 1,800 level. But that is if you are a trader. But if you are a long-term investor on the stock, I think that it is actually a good thing that you accumulate while the stock is trading near its support levels. Also, good thing about Globe is that it regularly pays out dividends. So if you're not that much worried about price action, then this is something that you might want to consider to get in. Okay, so next question. Thoughts on SCC and Plus. Okay, let's pull those charts. Okay. So SCC peaked around 40 pesos back in August 2022. And after a short while, it corrected to as low as 27 pesos. But nonetheless, that correction had been healthy because SCC was able to form a falling wedge pattern. So again, the falling wedge pattern is a bullish reversal pattern. And it was proven that it was really a bullish reversal pattern because the stock managed to break out of this pattern. Okay, and upon breakout, it also reached a high of somewhere close to 37 pesos. However, due to the ex date of SCC back in October of 2023, it gapped down. So that's a normal thing naman for stocks that do declare dividends. But so far, looking at the shorter term view, SEC also managed to form another bullish reversal pattern, similar to what the PSEI had formed. It's a double bottom pattern. So the resistance of this double bottom pattern is somewhere close to 31.5, and we saw SEC break out of that level and it consolidated within a small sideways range. Okay, so today, as of today's closing, we saw SCC break out of this short-term or small sideways range. So typically, for the gaps that were formed in the past or in the past or right in the past, the typical assumption is that gaps are always filled. So the breakout of SEC from this short-term sideways range could be an indication that it will fill the gap that it had formed when its previous X date occurred. So let's see how much is the potential upside that we can earn from SCC if we buy it at current price and if it fills the gap that it made. So that's about 8% upside from the current price. So if I'm going to buy SCC at current levels for the assumption that it would fill the gap, I would place my stop level ideally below this small sideways range. So that would be below 30, somewhere around 30.8. So if you are a short-term trader who wants to take advantage of the potential gap filling of SCC, then you may do so. However, note that the risk-reward ratio of that trade idea is close to 1:1. So in case that you're not comfortable of having a stop level at this deep, you may adjust your stop level towards the nearest support level. So if you're a short-term trader, you can simply use the low of the most recent candles, so that's around 32.03. So you can see that your risk-reward ratio will improve as well. So looking at the indicators of SCC, MACD seems to cross above the signal line or the red line, and it's currently above the zero baseline. For the momentum, RSI, it is above 50. So far, in terms of short-term price action, everything's looking good for SCC. Next one, we have DG Plus. Okay, let me just remove my previous drawings. Okay, so obviously, we saw DG Plus rally sharply after it had consolidated from October of 2022 up to May of 2023. So currently, we can consider this a strong price action given that the stock didn't break below the 200-day or the long-term moving average since it broke out of this consolidation. Okay, so if you're a short-term trader who's not afraid of volatility, then you may consider getting into plus. So as you can see, as we can observe here, plus usually rebounds whenever it visits or trades closer to its 50-day moving average. So this is an example of the first visit to the 50-day moving average. Next one is this. Although there was a blip, the stock still managed to rebound. And right now, it is currently exhibiting another rebound from the 50-day moving average as well. So we can draw a short-term downtrend line from its recent peak of around 850. So if I am a momentum trader, I would definitely look into this stock. But I would wait for it to break above 8 pesos first to confirm that it would really rebound from the 50-day moving average. So as mentioned, one of the indicators that we're monitoring, the parabolic SAR, if it's above the candle, if the dot is above the candle, that means the short-term trend is down. So what we want to see is for the parabolic SAR to be seen below the candle for it to exhibit a further run. Okay, so if we are going to estimate a target price for plus, it could be rallying past its all-time high, or sorry, a 52-week high. So we can use Fibonacci extensions. Okay, so hold on, let me just trigger. Okay, let me just reverse this. Yeah, there you go. So using the reverse Fibonacci retracement lines, this is how you can estimate a target price for a stock that's trading a new high. So if DG Plus breaks out of the short-term downtrend, then we may expect it to revisit its previous high, which is around 8.46, or if it manages to break out or surpass this initial resistance, then it could reach as high as 9.26 if momentum does not wane. Okay, so what we want to see is for its MACD to cross above the signal line and for it to stay above the zero baseline, and for the RSI to be or to maintain above 50. Okay, so if I'm going to enter a trade idea for plus, again, I would buy it above this downtrend line and I would place my stop level below the 50-day moving average. So assuming a target price of 9.26, that's about 14% upside with a potential downside of 9.71. So the risk reward ratio of this trade idea is again closer to 1:1. So I suggest to put some caution on this trade idea. But if you are a risk taker, again, you may still enter the stock, but you will have to manage your risks properly by managing your size. Okay, next one. How is Metrobank? Okay. Moving on to the banking sector. So unlike BDO and BPI, Metrobank had lagged its peers because as you can see, as I've shown you earlier, BDO managed to break out of its short-term downtrend, as well as BPI. So they both exhibited breakout rally in the past months. And for MBT, it had been trading within a downtrend channel. So as you can see, when it peaked around Feb last year, when it reached 62 pesos, it had corrected since. But in its last correction, we also noted that it formed a bullish reversal pattern or a falling wedge, which allowed Metrobank to revisit the resistance of its long-term downtrend. Right now, it is trading within close to that resistance. However, if you note on the MACD of the stock, you can see that although it's above the zero baseline, the MACD is below the signal line. So this may be the top for Metrobank in the short term. So what we want to see is for it to consolidate somewhere close to this area and watch out for a potential breakout. But if we see Metrobank trade below its long-term moving average, somewhere close to 55.20, if it reaches this level, then we may see Metrobank move towards the 50 peso area. Okay, so if you're a short-term trader who's currently holding Metrobank, this may be a good time to lighten your position. And let's just wait for a good re-entry point if it had formed a base that may exhibit a potential continuation for the stock. Or if not, we may be able to enter the stock again once it revisits its lower levels or support area. Okay, next one. Can you chart FGEN? Okay, sure. Actually, if you have been following our trade ideas or technically speaking trade idea, we have a live trade idea for FGEN. So we have here, as you can see, when it peaked back in June of 2023 or when it reached 22 pesos back then, FGEN corrected. Okay, so its correction reached as low as 16.50. And similar to other stocks, we noticed that FGEN formed a bullish reversal pattern. So this is the reason why we featured it in our technically speaking commentary. And when we featured it, the stock was already trading within this small sideways range. So the stock had already broken out but paused for a bit. Okay, so back in late January, we saw FGEN break out of the small sideways range, but it encountered resistance on its 200-day moving average. So it rallied as high as 1850 or 1860, but it corrected along with the market because as you can see, its MACD crossed below the signal line. But nonetheless, even though FGEN is trading below our said buy price of 18.06, the trade idea still remains live because it is still within the sideways range. Okay, so if you want to enter FGEN, this may be a good time to accumulate it for short-term trading because as you can see, even though the stock corrected, its RSI is still well above the 50 area. And as you can see, MACD is still above the zero baseline. So what we need to watch out for FGEN is just for its MACD to cross above the signal line and for it to break the short-term downtrend that is formed here. Okay, so we think that if those situation or those conditions happen, if FGEN breaks out of the short-term downtrend and surpasses the 200-day moving average, we think that FGEN will be able to revisit its previous high of around 21.70, and that is around 20% upside from its current price. So currently, our trade idea on FGEN has a set stop level of 17.40, and that is below the sideways range that we have identified. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Okay, possible double bagger ba GT cap. What does that mean? But anyway, let's go through the GT cap chart once again, since among the charts that I've showed you earlier, GT cap is actually one of my favorites because it's really showing a strong technical setup. So before the price action that we've witnessed in the past few months, GT cap's reversal already started in November of 2022. And that is when it formed a double bottom pattern. Okay, you see here that there's a double bottom pattern, double W pattern, I mean. So apart from the double bottom pattern, it also broke out of a very long-term downtrend that was drawn from 2015. And despite that, aside from that breakout, it managed to exhibit a golden cross, and it was able to continue moving upward towards where it is right now. And even though GT Cap was the top index performer of 2023, and despite its sharp run up in the past month, we can see that in the long term, GT Cap has a lot more space to rally towards. So the nearest resistance that we are seeing is again closer to 880, and from current levels that is around 27% upside na. Okay, but again, as noted, the rally of GT Cap in the short term had been sharp and it's currently at overbought levels. What we want to see for GT Cap is to consolidate first or at least move within the uptrend channel that we see here. Okay, what we don't want to see is for GT Cap to go below the moving average that we are monitoring. Okay, but so far, everything's good for GT Capital. Okay, we have a stock request on two property stocks, FLI and MegaWorld. Okay, let's pull that up. Okay, so for FLI, clearly it is trading within a downtrend in a long-term scale. And recently, it managed to form a base around 0.53. Okay, so after reaching that base of 0.53, let me show you that by drawing a horizontal ray. It rallied past its 200-day moving average. Okay, this is a good sign that when a stock is in a downtrend and if it breaks above its long-term moving average, that is the first reversal sign that we want to see. But the next challenge for FLI is for it to stay above the long-term average. Okay, so currently it is forming a sideways range. You can see it here. However, even though it's consolidating right now and it broke out of its long-term moving average, we can see that the MACD is opening up towards the downside, meaning the MACD line crossed below the signal line. So we may expect a short-term correction for FLI, and we don't want it to drop below this small sideways range because if it does, then it may just continue to exhibit the same trend that it had performed few years back. So you can see here the last time it visited the 200-day moving average, it corrected. Similar to the same instance in the same period last year, it also tried breaking out of the 200-day moving average, but again, it was unsuccessful and it made another low. So if FLI is indeed showing reversal signs, we might want to watch out for further breakout from this small sideways range. Okay, next one. Sorry, what was that again? Aside from aside from FLI, we have Mega World Corporation. Actually, I've been watching this stock because, as mentioned earlier, when I was showing you the sector indices, property sector index actually started to break out of its downtrend. However, Mega World is just contracting, or its trading band is just contracting. So after reaching a high of 2.68 back in August 2022, we see it form a base, or it didn't create a low that's lower than 1.9. Okay, so we can assume that the 1.9 area or level for Mega World is a strong support. And right now, our trading band for Mega World had been thinner as time went by. Okay, so in the short term, there's a trade idea that I'm seeing for Mega World, but let's see if the trade idea is worth the risk. So currently, if we draw a trend line from its previous short-term peak, then our buy level will be somewhere around 2.02 or 2.03. And we can estimate that target price is somewhere close to this wick, which is around 2.4. And placing our stop level to the nearest support. There. Okay, so I think based on the risk reward figures that we're seeing right now, there may be a trade idea for MEG, but the return is not that substantial. It's limited to an upside of just 5%, and looking at the risk reward ratio for Mega World is almost 1:1. So if you're a short-term trader and if you'd like to buy Mega World, I suggest that look at the stock once it overcomes its short-term resistance levels already. But if you are a long-term investor who wants to accumulate Mega World, then you might want to consider placing your buy transactions closer to its support of 1.3. Okay, next one. We pa-short naman po ng ASEN and URC. Okay, sige, let's take a look at these stocks. I think we have time for 3 more stocks. Okay, so speaking of reversal patterns, ASEN managed to form a falling wedge pattern already. So this is actually a long-term downtrend. The resistance of the falling wedge pattern was drawn when it peaked around 13 pesos back in 2021. And as you can see, the falling wedge pattern indicates that the downtrend of a stock is already slowing down, given that its support level is already meeting towards an apex, or its trading band is also narrowing. So I'd be interested to buy ASEN. If I'm a trader, I would like to buy ASEN when it overcomes first this one, the long-term downtrend, and its 200-day moving average. Okay, but currently, if ASEN will just bump its head in this resistance level, then we may see it form another lower low. Okay, so again, if I'm a trader, I would like to buy ASEN somewhere around 4.74. But if sigurista ako and I want to make sure that ASEN really overcome all its major resistance levels, then I would only buy it above 5 pesos. But if you measure a target price for ASEN, then we may estimate a target price of around 6.3, which is its resistance level back in May of last year. And if we see it break out of these long-term resistance levels, then I would set my stop level somewhere close to its short-term support that was made back in November 2020. Again, the risk-reward ratio is not within our ideal range of 3:1. But if you really like the stock, of course, you may adjust your sizing in this position accordingly. Okay, next one. URC. And then after URC, we'll go to the last question, which is about the PSEI, or the short-term projection for the PSEI. Okay, so URC peaked around May of last year because of a news that the junk food tax would be implemented, but so far we haven't heard that it will push through for the implementation. And we saw that the 108.10, which was URC's low back in October 13, 2022, became a strong support, given that when it was revisited back in November last year, um, the stock did not break down. So instead of continuing with its downtrend, URC is now trading within a sideways range. Okay, so if you are the type of trader who likes to range trade, you may want to buy closer to 108.10, or let's say at current levels. If the stock rebounds towards the resistance of the short term or of the sideways range, then you may expect an upside of 12%. And if I were to set a stop level for URC, I would place it below the sideways range. Okay, so if URC does trade within the sideways range, there could be a profitable trade idea that we can take advantage of. So given this trade opportunity, the risk to reward ratio of URC is actually above 3:1. So this is something that traders may want to take advantage of. Okay, so if you want a better or higher reward for URC or return for URC, you may want to wait for lower levels closer to 108.10. And as you can see, your reward to risk ratio would improve as well. Okay, and for our last request, we have here the short-term view for the PSEI. Okay, so actually, it is a good thing that we are looking at this right now, because in the most recent technically speaking commentary that we have published, we mentioned that the next resistance level of the PSEI would be somewhere around 6,820. And right now, the closing of the PSEI is just 10 points above our target. But you can see here that the PSEI's closing today is lower than the high it registered today. So the high today is somewhere around close to 6,900 and it closed around 6,830. So that could be an indication that that investors may or traders may be taking some profits already, given that the PSEI already rose around 15% from its low of 5,900. And currently kasi, we can see here that if we continue to draw the uptrend channel that we have identified earlier, we saw that the 6,800 or 6,900 is also the resistance of this short-term uptrend. So it may be really due for the PSEI to experience some profit taking around the confluence of resistance levels. So what we can expect for the PSEI, given that it's close to overbought levels, we may see a correction for the PSEI in the short term. So a correction doesn't mean na bababa na talaga yung PSEI in the coming days. It's fine, given that it won't break below the 6,600 support. So 6,600 support is around this level. So we don't want to see that. So we should have to monitor the PSEI closely. But so far, if the PSEI continues to trade within this range, then there should be no problem and we may be able to reach our research team's base case target of around 7,000 if it continues to trade within this area. Okay, so I hope you've learned a lot from this session. Sorry, this is all the time we have for our Q&A session. But for those questions that we were not able to answer, you may reach us through our email as seen on your screens, and I will personally reply to your stock requests. Okay, thank you everyone for spending your time with us, and I hope you learned a lot during this session. So don't forget to answer the short survey after this session, as your feedback and suggestions are highly appreciated and considered. We look forward to seeing you again during our next session. Thank you everyone and enjoy the rest of the day.
Trade stocks online with BDO Securities anytime, anywhere. With BDO Securities' online trading platform, you can easily open an account, do real-time funding and withdrawal, and stay updated with market insights and trade ideas. All these to help you make informed decisions as you grow and manage your wealth. Whether you're new to investing or a seasoned investor, BDO Securities will give you access to a comprehensive stock market experience. Visit www.bdo.com.ph/BDO-securities to open an account today. Trade